start with a flea flicker to open up the night. And he connects with Galladay.
Sup, everybody, and welcome to our Week 2 NFL recap. Joey D, how are you doing today, friend?
Oh, we're doing great. Feeling good. It's Wednesday, hump day, halfway through the week, almost Friday. We got Thursday night football tomorrow. We're back, baby. I love it.
Love that, Joe. And we're going to start right off with our week recap of the week. The first game we're going to talk about, there was a flea flicker in the game, Joe. We did it. There was a flea flicker in week 2. Unfortunately, the pass was a little bit low. If Tom Brady was slightly accurate, that definitely would have been a touchdown. But they still completed the pass, and the Buccaneers still beat the Panthers by a score of 31-17. We both picked the Bucs, so we're starting off our Sunday slate well. Not too much I saw from this game. I mean, the big takeaway is Christian McCaffrey, high ankle sprain, out 4 to 6 weeks. The Patriots offense still looked a little lackluster. Fournette had a great game, especially in the passing game. He had a late touchdown run to hit the over to kind of ice the clock. But, those are my couple big takeaways, Joe. I don't know how much of the game you saw. I know you were watching your Eagles get blown out by the Rams.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that was where my focus was for as long as I could muster. Just watching some of the highlights of that game, one thing that kind of stood out to me was that I feel like we're starting to see a little bit more of what Bruce Arians had in mind for the run game there in Tampa Bay. It seems like Fournette in the kind of the first half of most games, he'll be kind of the between the 20s type of runner. And then, Ronald Jones and LaShawn McCoy will be kind of like the first and second down back within the 20-yard lines. 20-20, I guess, whatever. We saw kind of at the end of the game when the Bucs were on top and they're trying to, just run the clock out, grind it out, kind of wear down that defense. That's when they put in Fournette, and he's able to, take off on that long touchdown run, still pretty fresh and able to, kind of deliver a big play right there and put the dagger in the Panthers. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think that that'll really help take a lot of pressure off of Tom Brady whenever they can get up early. So he's not having to continue to pass all game. And then, like you said, I mean, the Christian McCaffrey injury is really tough. Our boy Mike Davis out of USC, it's his time to shine. So we'll see what happens. But, Panthers still looking a little bit better than I think a lot of people expected them to this year.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And, who knows if that pass on the flea flicker was accurate and was a touchdown. And then also later in the game to keep the Panthers in it, Shady McCoy had a great spin move and he was open. Tom Brady hit him, but he dropped it right in the end zone. He pulled a DeAndre Swift. So who knows if they got those 2 touchdowns, we're talking, 45-17 and not 31-17.
Right.
But I like that. The Panthers we'll see when we get to the Chargers. They play the Chargers in week 3. So that should be a fun little matchup. But then moving on to the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Drew Lock gets injured early on a fumble. He hurts his shoulder, out of the game. Jeff Driscoll comes in, actually does a pretty good job. He moves the ball well. He got some involvement from Courtland Sutton before he tore his ACL and he's out for the year. Jerry Jeudy had another good game. Melvin Gordon ran the ball well. Unfortunately, the Steelers' offense was just a little bit better. James Conner came back healthy, surprised a lot of people, especially fantasy players. The Steelers pulled this one out 26-21.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, really impressed with the Broncos and Vic Fangio and Jeff Driscoll. I mean, when I saw that Drew Lock got injured early and was out, I kind of was like, okay, well, that's it for the Broncos. I mean, they're not going to be in this game at all.
Same.
So, I mean, I was really impressed that Jeff Driscoll, came in off the bench, was able to, kind of keep them in that game. He definitely didn't lose them that game. And I mean, Vic Fangio is a good coach. I think that was a big takeaway for me watching that game. I mean, Steelers are a really good team, really good defense, and Jeff Driscoll was able to score some points on them. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is a veteran coach. Broncos defense has a couple injuries right now, and they were still right there. So, it was a close game. I don't think the Broncos are too far away. This Drew Lock injury kind of puts my my Broncos pick a little bit in doubt right now, especially after
Blake
that
Bortles,
start. But Blake Bortles, we'll see what happens. But with Blake Bortles, though, I expect him to probably be the number 2 quarterback behind Jeff Driscoll until Drew Lock comes back, and then he'll probably be either the number 3 or inactive. So, yeah, I mean, Steelers are rolling, looking good. James Conner played well. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool with a long touchdown. Yeah, I mean, that Steelers offense is starting to look a little bit dangerous again, a little bit like the Steelers offense we remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see Steelers in week 3. They got J.J. Watt and the Houston Texans defense. But Steelers won 26-21. You're 2-1. I'm 3-0. Now we're moving to arguably probably the game of the day in the 1 o'clock slate. The Dallas Cowboys somehow come back, Joe, and beat the Atlanta Falcons 40-39. The Falcons were dominating this entire game. They were up 9 points with like 2 minutes to go, 99.9% win chance. Cowboys come back. They have a unorthodox onside kick that nobody on the Falcons knew how to recover. It went 10 yards. They picked it up. Dak Prescott had a great game. He had like 3 one-yard rushing touchdowns. Wish it went to Zeke for Zeke fantasy owners like myself in a few leagues. But Cowboys come back, Joe, and a high-scoring game indeed. The overhit, I was happy. I made some money from the game. But, Joe, tell me about the Falcons and their dismantling at the end.
Man, I tell you, I was devastated about this, Tim. It was a rough day all around for Joey D with the Eagles losing and my fantasy struggling. I had a little bit of consolation because I was like, oh, the Cowboys are getting blown out. They're going to lose too. We'll both be 0-2. We're okay. And then it didn't happen. So, I mean, kudos to the Cowboys, man. Kudos to, that team being resilient and fighting back. But, I mean, honestly, I think that it's more of how the Falcons choked that away rather than how the Cowboys came back. I mean,
absolutely.
Like to be up by that much and have such a big first half and then not be able to add anything in the second half and your defense can't do anything. The Falcons didn't turn the ball over. They scored, 39 points? Was that right?
39
points. I think they had over 400 yards of total offense, no turnovers. It's the first time in NFL history that team has lost. Had over 400 yards of offense, no turnovers. Never happened before. That team's always won. Atlanta, man, they found a way. They found a way to lose again. Like if that Super Bowl wasn't, the most heartbreaking loss ever, I mean, this is close. I mean, like that onside kick, like that was just real bad. I mean, like just jump on that ball, like to me that just spoke to the coaching, and I think Arthur Blank was kind of talking about it, like those guys just didn't look like they knew the rules well. This bodes very bad for Dan Quinn. I mean, if I was the GM or the owner of that team after that loss, I'd probably fire Dan Quinn on the spot.
Wow.
It's bad.
Yeah, and shout out to the Cowboys and their special teams coaching, and Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg, for actually making the kick. I guess they found like not a loophole, but no tee, kicking it weird. So I mean, credit to them for kind of doing the research, and it was 100% legal, but that was the first time we ever saw one like that. But yeah, I mean, I think the first Falcon to like kind of realize it was Hayden Hurst. Once the ball traveled like that 8.5, 9 yards, you could see him kind of be like, oh crap, and like him at least attempt to dive. But the Cowboys guy was right there. But I'm kind of happy, Joe. I picked the Cowboys. I'm 4-0. You picked the Falcons. You moved back down to 2-2. So I was certainly happy, at least going into the Monday night game, at least beating you. And then next up, we're going to go to the I don't know what kind of turf is up there in New Jersey at MetLife Stadium, Joe, but
yeah.
The 49ers got a lot of injuries, but thank God they're playing the Jets. They pulled away 31-13. I mean, Garoppolo went down, Mostert went down, Nick Bosa went down, Solomon Thomas went down. A couple injuries on the Jets side as well, so it's not just the 49ers. The Jets had a couple of people injured, but certainly the Jets don't have any big names, so our attention was on the 49ers, and guess what? The 49ers in week 3, they're making their return to MetLife Stadium and play the Giants. So, Joe, but talk to me about the 49ers beating the Jets 31-13.
Yeah, I mean, once again, Raheem Mostert right off the bat, I mean, just having another long touchdown, this man's insane. I mean, I cannot believe he went undrafted. He was on the Eagles originally. We picked him up as the first team. He was on our practice squad. I remember
he was on the Ravens too. Yeah.
I remember watching him in the preseason and thinking this guy's a baller, and everyone just kind of let him go. So I mean, this guy has fought to make a name for himself, and, get a fair contract, which you had to deal with in the offseason. So it's really tough to see him go down because, that helps the 49ers so much to be, up early. One play touchdown, it doesn't get better than that. So, him going down is definitely tough. Jimmy Garoppolo, it only hurts even more. Nick Mullins is a decent backup quarterback. So, we'll see what happens, but it's not like he has George Kittle to throw to or, Debo to throw to, or a really strong defense to rely on. Right now, it's a good thing they drafted Javon Kinlaw, have been investing a lot of resources in that D-line. Eric Armstead's still there. So they still have some guys that, are talented and they've invested first-round draft picks in. But, man, for two of, your 4 last first-round draft picks to go down all at the same position, it's devastating. It's one thing for a couple big players to go down, but when it's all at the same position, that's really when it's really difficult to overcome. So it's gonna be tough to see how the 49ers can deal with this, and we'll see how resilient they are and what Kyle Shanahan can do to kind of overcome all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we never want to root for injuries here in the NFL, but that definitely has to be a sigh of relief for your Eagles offensive line going up against the 49ers in a couple of weeks, Joe. So certainly won't be, the game we all wanted with Nick Bosa getting 500 sacks on Carson Wentz, but, that is a little sigh of relief. It's still going to be a tough matchup, obviously, with Armstead, Kinlaw, and some others, but
I
no
didn't want to
Bosa,
say
no
it. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, I was thinking about okay, thank God. We play them in only 2 weeks, so, I hate to be that guy, but
yeah, Jets, talking about the Jets for 30 seconds, they suck. Adam Gase has got to go. Sam Darnold made some great throws. He made one that was tweeted out. He made some great throws. So like we've been saying, it's not Darnold. A couple of the weapons could be a little bit better at wide receiver, but it's not the quarterback. It's the play calling.
No.
But luckily, Adam Gase said that they're going to go in hyperdrive this week. So, watch out for some Adam Gase hyperdrive. And today, Joe Flacco, the elite quarterback, practiced in full for the first time. So, watch out.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know if you saw that touchdown Sam Darnold threw at the end of the game. That was unreal. Just pocket movement, evading the pressure, getting out there, and rolling to his left, throwing to his right. Just a dime. He just flicked his wrist and it was right there. He's got talent. He's got an arm.
Mm-hmm.
He needs help on his coaching staff and with the talent around him. But I really don't think it's Sam Darnold. I think Adam Gase has to go and has to go soon.
I definitely agree. Well, let's take it to another young quarterback in the AFC East. We're going down to Sunshine State of Miami or Florida. Miami is in Florida. But we're going to go with the Bills. They beat the Dolphins in a close one, 31-28. Josh Allen over 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. He first time 300 yards last week. Now first time over 400 yards this week, 4 touchdowns. Him and Diggs have that connection still. Diggs is having a great season so far in Buffalo. But then on the Dolphins side, Fitzmagic did his thing. He kept his team in the game. They went up in the fourth quarter, and so the Dolphins are being competitive, but the Bills are just the better football team, and Josh Allen pulled out a victory.
Yeah, Josh Allen's making some plays. It's fun to watch. He's got that arm, and now he's got just such a great deep threat in Stephon Diggs. So it's really cool to see someone who can finally run underneath those what looks like to be an over-the-thrown pass most of the time, and someone can actually get under it now. So that Buffalo team definitely looks dangerous. They're definitely coming for New England. They think they're vulnerable, but props to Miami hanging in there and just being competitive. They're close. They've had some injuries. I think Byron Jones went down and is going to be out for a few weeks if I remember correctly. So they've invested a lot of money in their outside corners. And they've got to get better production out of there, but you got to be healthy and make those plays.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. The Bills look good. The Dolphins look competitive, like I predicted. I said they would be competitive, and here they are. But Dolphins cover 5.5. Bills win. I'm 6-0. Joe, you're 4-2. So we're back on you're back on the winning streak. And now that comes to an end, though, because we will be talking about Kirk Cousins going on the road to the Indianapolis Colts. Colts pull out this one in dominant fashion, 28-11. Joe, I know you're excited that the Vikings lost, especially Kirk Cousins, so I'll let you have it. Talk to the people about how bad Kirk Cousins is.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you this. if you've watched any Eagles games, you've seen how bad Carson Wentz has been. He has the second worst QB rating in the NFL right now. But you know who's got the first worst? Captain Kirk. You like that? You like that? God, I mean, that was abysmal in the first half against the Colts. I mean, I think he have 6 completions or something like that. It was, or maybe for like 6 yards, 16, something like that. It was bad. I mean, that offense is struggling. I don't know if it's, Kirk Cousins, he made more plays last year when he had that much talent around him. I mean, he's just a guy. He's a game manager. He'll put up some statistics, and you saw in garbage time, he put up some statistics, but watching that game, he was bad. He was missing throws. He doesn't want to throw into the tight windows. That was a good Colts defense that was coming after him, pressuring him all game. They took away the run, and they said, Kirk Cousins, you're going to have to beat us, and he could not. So, once again, I've been preaching this since he was playing in Washington. I've been watching him play, for a while, whether it's in prime time or 1:00 games when he was playing against the Eagles. I've never been a believer in Kirk Cousins. I just don't think that he's got that mental edge to be an elite quarterback. And, I mean, we see what happens when he faces really good teams or even competitive teams. I mean, he just doesn't really show up as much. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean, and credit to the Colts, too. They bounced back after a loss to the Jaguars. And we'll talk about them later on with their game as well as their game Thursday night. But the Colts look good. They were running the ball well. Jonathan Taylor had a great game. Naeem Hines still had a good game. They did lose a wide receiver.
He didn't do anything. Naeem Hines didn't do anything. He had like 1 point in fantasy. I tell you. Oh, don't tell me he had a good game.
Hey, he had some key blocks and pass protection, all right?
Oh, yeah, cool,
you don't get fantasy points for that, but he had a good game.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, Colts look good. That defense looks great. Joe, where'd you go? All right, and we're back. Joe had a quick work call, but we're all good. But I think we all covered the Vikings and the Colts. Colts bounced back after a tough loss. Their defense looked great. Hopefully, they still need a little bit more from their offense. But Joe, that makes me 6-1. You're 5-2. Colts win 28-11. Now we're moving up north to the frozen tundra. I guess not in September, but the Detroit Lions went up early against the Packers, but Packers -6, never a doubt, lock of the week. Packers beat the Lions 42-21. Joe, were you concerned at all with the Packers' slow start? I know some people were. I wasn't. Packers -6, never a doubt. But talk to me about the Lions' hot start and then the Packers, picking it up and then dominating the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a divisional game, so sometimes they're kind of weird like that. So it didn't really shock me. We've kind of seen a lot of games like that with the Lions before where they have every opportunity to win. I mean, just last week, DeAndre Swift drops a game-winning touchdown. This week, they're up 14-0 early against the Packers. But, I mean, you're playing Aaron Rodgers, who's still one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And, I mean, this man is tearing it up. It baffles me that the Packers spent a first-round pick on Jordan Love and a second-round pick on A.J. Dillon when you've got Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, and neither of those other two guys are ever going to see the field. It baffles me how much they clearly hate Rodgers and how much Rodgers is just sticking it to him, just like, I don't care. I can still do this. I'm still going to show everyone what I got. If you don't want me, I'm going to leave, and someone else is going to take me and pay me, and I'll win a Super Bowl. So I love to see it. Aaron Rodgers is that man. Like you said, never much of a doubt, especially against Detroit, who at best is an average team. So we'll see what happens the rest of the year if they can make it to that 8-8.
Yeah, and week 1, Bears +2.5 hit. Week 2, Packers -6 hit. Got to bet against the Lions right now, but Aaron Jones had himself a great day. I know I have him in a fantasy league. I played him in a fantasy league, but he scored like 45 points with all those touchdowns. The Lambeau Leap, with no fans,
I love it. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it.
It was also nice when the Lions did it too. It was like, all right, the only time that they can do that. But Packers win easily, moving or staying in the windy city of Chicago. We're moving city, staying in the division. We both picked Giants, and they almost won, Joe, but Saquon Barkley out for the year. Mitch Trubisky did enough Bears win 17-13, beat the Giants. And it came down to defense from the Bears. They had a great goal line stand. I don't know what the Giants are doing play call wise, but, Daniel Jones couldn't put it in the end zone for the win.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough to be a Giants fan right now, man. I mean, Saquon was playing well. Like he was making some plays. I think he had 4 rushes for 28 yards, and then on that 4th one, that's when he ended up getting hurt. I mean, it's tough, man. I mean, he's such a difference maker. He's the best player on that team. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it's also kind of the nature of the of that position. I mean, running back, you're taking so much contact every play. I mean, it's just so violent. Like they just have such a short shelf life, and they really can't last that long in the NFL, being as productive as they were. So I never want to see an injury, but I also never advise in spending a high draft pick in the NFL on a running back when you can get that production from a Corey Clement who's undrafted one year. So it's tough. It's definitely a devastating injury for the Giants, but I mean the Bears defense, they definitely played really well. They were around the ball all game. I mean, holding them. I think they were up 17-0 for most of the game, and then the Giants kind of started storming back, and just unfortunately couldn't get in at the end. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, misery loves company, and the rest of the NFC East. I mean, Giants and Eagles both 0-2, baby. Love it.
Yeah, and I mean, we all know with Saquon's legs, we've seen his quads, we've seen his legs. He still has, squat lifting records at Penn State and his high school. So he's still young. And if anybody's going to bounce back from an ACL injury, I'm kind of scared, honestly, now that he'll have a surgically repaired knee. We know how he crazily lifts and all that stuff. So whenever he gets back on the field, it's definitely going to be fun to watch. But you said it, Joe, Eagles are 0-2. That's actually the next game that we're talking about. Rams beat the Eagles 37-19. Now the Eagles came back in the first half. It was 17-13 at halftime. So it looked like that there was some promise, but then the Rams turned it on, and Tyler Higbee. Eagles didn't have an answer for covering a tight end, but Joe, I'll let you talk about the Eagles. But we did both pick the Rams, so that puts me at 8-2. Joe, you're 7-3, but you're the Eagles fan, so talk about this game.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing to take away from this game was how out-schemed and out-coached we were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the biggest Jim Shorts has been talking in his press conference basically saying they ran a very simple scheme just to try to let these guys line up exactly, what we were doing. Like it was very obvious to everybody on the offense what coverage we were in, what defense we're running, and just let, our players read and react when our defense is not successful doing that. They need to be attacking and making plays. We didn't have any disguises, so the Rams knew what coverage we were in every single play. Darius Slay once again had a great game. No targets. He did his job. He covered his man every play. But they attacked the linebackers. They attacked our safeties and the number 2 corner, Avonte Maddox. We have a really expensive defensive line, and they're not showing up. That's the other really big issue with our defense right now. I mean, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Malik Jackson, all of these guys are some of the highest paid at their position at defensive tackle, and nobody's making plays. Brandon Graham had a sack, but outside of that, no defensive plays. So, I mean, we couldn't get off the field on 3rd down, bad red zone defense, no turnovers. And on the flip side, on offense, the offensive line, surprisingly, was not the problem. They played well. Carson Wentz did not get sacked once this game. Miles Sanders, his first game back, he looked good. He looked good. He had to get some of the rust off. He had that fumble early, which really was a tone setter and unfortunately helped the Rams get up to that early lead. But I mean, the other big story is just that Carson Wentz did not look on his A game. 2 weeks in a row, he just has not been playing up to, the standards that we come to expect from him. I mean, he's missing open throws. We were driving down the field after halftime. Like you said, it was 17-13. We had just forced a turnover on downs, and we're driving down the field. We're in the red zone. It's 1st down, and Wentz tries to fit in a tight window to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who was apparently the backside route on this play. Like, he is the last option in the progression. And Wentz tried to fit it into him. What do you know? Intercepted in the end zone. So it was a great pick. It was a great play on the defensive side. But I mean, Doug Peterson said to himself that interception is unacceptable. And I mean, the defense just couldn't hold. I mean, we turned the ball over on the fumble, on the interception, and the defense allowed points each time. So nobody's picking up the other side of the ball, and the whole team's struggling. So we got to get it together. But more bad news, unfortunately. Jalen Reagor will be out for 6 to 8 weeks with a UCL injury in his thumb. Tim, do you know what a UCL is? Because I still don't. Like,
yeah, it's a ligament in your thumb or arm.
Your thumb. Yeah, I was thinking, like, I mean, I know ACL and MCL, that's like the knee, like, kind of bends back and forth, thumb, UCL, maybe like that. I don't know. But, like, never heard of it. This is just another freaking unbelievable Eagles injury that, like, I'm not surprised anymore. I'm just sad. It's so frustrating. I was really excited to see what Jalen Reagor could bring to the offense.
Now you got Greg Ward.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's not like Greg Ward's been out there anyway. I mean, Greg Ward's just a guy. I like Greg Ward. He's a hard worker, but I mean, there's a reason he was undrafted. And I mean, he's a slot receiver. That production can be, replicated by pretty much anybody else who's starting in the slot. So, it's frustrating, but
yeah,
what are you gonna do?
And you said it too with Jim Schwartz's, simple plan. You can't do that against Sean McVay. Can you do it against Kirk Cousins? Sure, but you can't do it against Sean McVay.
Yeah.
But that's enough.
People
Eagles go
wide
down.
Open.
Now we're moving on. Final 1:00 game of the day. Tennessee Titans beating the Jacksonville Jaguars 33-30, a shootout that nobody expected. At least I didn't expect it. But Steven Gostkowski missed a couple of kicks again, but he still came up clutch, hitting a couple field goals over 40 and 50 yards late in the game to win. Gardner Minshew and that offense still looks great. They're throwing the ball like crazy. Tannehill had a great day. John Smith went off, another tight end. But Titans win. They didn't cover, but we both picked the Titans, Joe. I mean, your thoughts from this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good game, which, like you said, I don't think anybody expected. The Jaguars have just been shocking the world out here. I mean, they beat the Colts week 1. They lost a close one to the Titans week 2, and Minshew's out here making plays. I mean, at what point do you tell yourself, hey, maybe this is our guy? Like, maybe we shouldn't be tanking for Trevor and we should just surround this guy with some talent. I mean, he went in the 6th round. I know another quarterback who ended up being pretty good who went in the 6th round. So, like, we'll see what happens. But Gardner Minshew's out here making plays with his feet, with his arm. He threw 3 touchdowns. He's spreading the ball around. Everybody's getting it. And, I mean, the run game's looking good too. I mean, they're looking smarter and smarter for getting rid of Fournette when they did. And, I mean, they've still got a lot of draft picks that are going to be coming in soon. It's very interesting what's going on down there in Jacksonville. So I'm just not – I'm having trouble figuring out if it's more of a testament to Gardner Minshew and, that Jacksonville team, or, was Tennessee's defense just off this day or what. But, man, it was a good game. That's a fun division. It's pretty interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I think you just asked a good question. Like, are the Jaguars for real? They just might be that team. There's that team every year where it's like, we don't know if they're, like, good yet. We don't know if they're good yet. I don't think we'll know after week 3 because on Thursday night they played the Dolphins, who aren't the greatest team. So who knows? Like, when the Jaguars, they do play the Packers this year. So if they were to beat the Packers, maybe at that point we'll start thinking of them legitly. But now we're moving on to the 4:00 slate. We're going to start off with the 4:05 game, the Washington football team heading out west to the desert and the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray kind of looks like last year's Lamar Jackson. He's just making good throws when needed. He's running around. He's avoiding linebackers when he's in the open field. He's making a lot of people miss. Cardinals win 30-15. Joe, again, we both had the Cardinals. We're riding hot. I'm 10-2. You're 9-3. Nobody's stopping us right now. But talk to me about this Cardinals football team game.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Kyler Murray's out here. He's just on fire. He's spreading the ball around. DeAndre Hopkins still having good games. I mean, their run game is doing well. I know a lot of people are, really excited about Kenyon Drake in Arizona's offense, and Chase Edmonds kind of been eating into some of those carries, taking away some of those touches. But they're winning, man, and they're winning. They're winning good. They're playing well across the board. One thing, kind of keep an eye on with the Cardinals defense. Terry McLaurin went off. He had over 100 yards, had a touchdown. I mean, he was legit. That's going up against Patrick Peterson and a formidable Cardinals secondary with both Peterson, Budda Baker, a couple other guys back there who are making some plays recently. So I mean, it's a little bit concerning to see a guy like Dwayne Haskins and Terry McLaurin lighten it up. I'm a little bit worried to see what happens when they do face a little bit more of an elite offense that can kind of score the same amount of points as them. Because I mean, we've seen the Washington football team, obviously they don't have a great offense, and San Francisco 49ers, who, they have a, they have a good offense sometimes, but they're only going to go as far as Jimmy Garoppolo takes them. So, Kyler Murray is obviously better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And, I mean, we'll see what happens whenever they do face like the Seahawks and Russell Wilson, who is just on fire and looking like the best team in the NFL right now. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned looking like the best team in the NFL, Joe, because our next game that we're talking about is the Baltimore Ravens beating the Houston Texans 33-16. Lamar Jackson looked great. He did get sacked a couple of times. Some throws were a little off, but, we still moved the ball offensively. Defensively, we had a great Marlon Humphrey punch out for a fumble. LJ Ford picked it up, took it back to the house. Marcus Peters had a great diving interception. And best kicker in the NFL, Justin Tucker, nailed a bunch of field goals and hit some extra points as well. The Ravens look good. I mean, we have the third most points so far in 2 weeks in the whole NFL, first in the AFC. And our defense has only given up 22 points. It's easily the best in the NFL. Texans looked pretty good as well. They went for it early on the fourth down. We brought the house to Sean Elliott, got to Deshaun Watson. It was a great game. I do have a couple of concerns. There are some things that I didn't like, but I would like to hear your thoughts of the best football team in the NFL beating the Texans on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, what stood out to me was just that run game and how successful that run game, that running attack is. I mean, you've got Lamar Jackson who's a threat to take off any play. Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins didn't really have much of a good game. He didn't really do that much, did he? I think he had like 2 carries or something.
He had a key 3rd down and 12 reception where he kind of put his hand down and got the first down. I don't think we scored on that drive, but then in the fourth quarter, he had a run for 45 yards. But yeah, I mean, Lamar, Ingram, Dobbins, and Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards. 4 people all had around 40 to 60 yards rushing, and that's kind of our thing. We'll run you down with Lamar, Mark, and Dobbins some speed, and then Gus Edwards is a big, powerful back. We'll bring him in the second half. He'll come run you over when you're already tired. So, yeah, we have a great running attack, and it's nice to see that our offense, or team, we had a defensive touchdown, can put up 33 points. Tight end Mark Andrews only had 1 catch. Hollywood Brown didn't have a couple of catches. We saw a lot from Miles Boykin and Willie Snead. Nick Boyle, Pat Ricard had a receiving touchdown. So it's nice that we're getting more people involved, and it's not just Hollywood Brown getting 10 catches, not just Mark Andrews getting 10 catches. I think between the 2 of them, they had 4 or 5 catches total. So it's nice to see that we've been moving the ball, but I am not too worried. Lamar could have had a couple of big runs, but the defender did get to him. I don't want to say Lamar is slow by any means, but I think it's still kind of shaking off that rust. And I was thinking about that the other day, Joe, to go off on a little tangent, is that no preseason. If you're a starter, you're probably playing anywhere from 4 to 6, 4 to 7 quarters in the preseason. You didn't get that, but now 2 weeks in, now you've got that, 6, 7, 8 quarters, even for secondary. So I'm very excited in week 3 and week 4. Now it's kind of okay, we had preseason. Now it's time to turn that notch up, take that extra step, put it in the next year. So I'm excited to see week 3. But let's not talk about the Ravens too much. Did you see anything from the Texans that you liked when watching the game?
Not really. I mean,
No.
I think I said going into the season, I'm not high on the Texans and Bill O'Brien. I mean, and what they've done on that Houston offense, I just don't love it. I mean, Will Fuller didn't have any catches. Like nothing. I mean, he's
Marlon
supposed to be
Humphrey,
your
Marcus Peters, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Trust me, I agree. But like, if you're the Texans, like that's supposed to be your number one.
You also got to give him the ball. You got to throw to him. Yeah.
You gotta get him the ball. You gotta scheme him open. You gotta get, just get the ball in his hands, let him do something. But I mean, if you're going up against one of the best defenses, one of the best teams in the NFL, that should be a guy you're trying to get the ball to pretty much all game, so you can hang in there, keep them honest. And they didn't. Like that. J.J. Watt can only do so much. Love the guy. They've got good players on their defense, but I mean, and Deshaun Watson can only do so much on offense without
Right.
good receivers getting open. So.
Yeah, and Sunday in week 3, we got the Watt Bowl. The Texans are playing the Steelers, JJ versus brothers TJ and Derek. But we'll get to that in our Saturday episode. But now we're moving to a very exciting game, our first overtime game of the regular season, Joe. I guess of the season. There was no preseason, but first overtime game. Chiefs kind of struggled against the Chargers. The Chargers told Justin Herbert he was starting. Tyrod Taylor could be getting some good legal financial compensation from the Chargers with the story that was out today. But the Chiefs win 23-20 in overtime. Harrison Butker kicked like a 45-yard, 50 field goal, false start, kicked another one. They called a timeout, and then kicked another one to win the game. Tony Romo and Jim Nantz forgot that Justin Tucker exists. I mean, they were just saying that he was like the only good kicker in the NFL. It's like, dude, Justin Tucker is alive and breathing and playing football.
Of course.
But I get it. You're adhering to the audience, but Chiefs win. They were struggling. Pat Mahomes came up big. He had a nice 20-yard rush on like 3rd and 19, 3rd and 20. So he put his team in a position to win. But I do like what I saw from Justin Herbert and the Chargers, Joe. I don't know what your thoughts, but I really like this kid, and I think they made a good pick at number 6 overall this year.
Yeah, I mean, they told him 10 seconds before kickoff, hey, you're starting. Like, oh, like word. And he went out there and he operated that offense and was getting the ball to people. He just didn't look like the moment was too big right then and there. And, he came in, conducted himself like a professional, like a starter. I was really impressed with what I saw from Justin Herbert. I mean, he's definitely got a couple things he's got to work on. Got to be accurate, got to get the ball out quick and not take sacks, especially on 3rd down. But I mean, he definitely showed a lot of talent, a lot of promise, a lot to be excited about in Los Angeles with the Chargers. My heart just goes out to Tyrod Taylor. I mean, this man he's just been a bridge quarterback his whole career. I mean, from what was it, Buffalo? Gets Josh Allen. He goes to Cleveland. They get Baker Mayfield, and now same thing once again. Goes to the Chargers, and they get Justin Herbert. And now through no fault to his own, this crazy story that happens. He gets his lung punctured trying to get a shot. Unbelievable, but now he goes out for the game because of that. So it's just completely out of his control, and it's tough to watch and tough to see. Just as a fan of Tyrod as a person.
Yeah, absolutely, and you nailed it. Herbert was very professional. His post game, they asked him. He said 5-10 seconds, and they were like, were you at all worried? And he was like, nah, I prepare every week like I'm going to start the game. So, kudos to him. Kudos to his mindset. Chiefs look good. And we were talking in our Saturday episode that the Ravens-Texans might have been a trap game for the Ravens looking ahead to the Chiefs game. But it was almost a trap game for the Chiefs going at the Chargers with the big Monday night matchup, which we will talk about on Saturday. And then closing out the Sunday slate, nighttime, Cam Newton, the Patriots, almost went into Seattle again with no fans, no 12th man, but they almost went in and won. But Russell Wilson, man, was doing his thing. He was dropping dimes. The Seattle defense came up big when it needed to. Seahawks win 35-30. I don't know about you, Joe. I didn't like the play call on that last play of the game, that 3rd, 4th down for Cam Newton. I mean, conversely on the Ravens 4th down touchdown, Mark Ingram, direct snap, you got to put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands. You got to put it in your playmakers' hands. But everybody on earth knew that they were going to run with Cam Newton, or Cam Newton was going to do something. I mean,
right.
Obviously they learned from the Super Bowl that when you have it down at the goal line, you give it to your playmaker runner and you don't put it in the air. But it still didn't work out for the Patriots. But, Joe, your thoughts from the Patriots-Seahawks game?
Yeah, I mean, that's 2 of the best teams in the NFL going up against each other. That very well could be the Super Bowl matchup. That's not out of the
It's
realm
not out
of
of question.
possibility.
Absolutely
Yeah, I mean, those are two of the best teams, two of the best coach teams, and just have so much talent around them. I mean, it's really, really impressive to see what Cam's doing there with, the same amount of weapons as Brady did last year, but this offense just looks so much more dynamic. I mean, while we're talking about the Patriots offense, prayers up for James White and his family.
I know.
Dealing with the tragedy there. So, it's it was tough to not have him in there. I mean, he's one of their best receiving backs. And but that Patriots offense still put up 30 points without him. I do agree. I don't love the call there on fourth down. But I also get where they're coming from. I mean, it's a numbers game, and if your quarterback's the one running the ball, you have one extra blocker. But like you said, everybody knows what's coming. I would have liked to see a little bit more trickery, maybe like a Philly special, some type of reverse, something like that. Just something where, it was just a little bit less predictable. But yeah, great game by the Seahawks. Russell Wilson, he, I don't know if you saw this today, but he recently overtook Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes as the leading MVP contender right now. So
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, after 2 weeks, I would give him the MVP in a heartbeat.
And I've been saying this for a long time. Russell Wilson should get the MVP every single year. If we're being honest, this man consistently, if we're talking about who's the most valuable player to a team, this man, since he's been here, he's got the Seahawks in the playoffs, I believe, every single year. He's always had a winning record. He's never missed a game. They've never had a good offensive line, and until now, real threats at wide receiver. It's always been just Russell Wilson willing that offense to victory and putting it all on his shoulders. And the man is 5'10". I think this guy is the MVP of the league every single year because of what he's been doing week in and week out. But right now, he's just putting everybody on notice. He's here, and the Seahawks are here too. DK Metcalf, wow, man, I love that guy, but I tell you, makes me hate the Eagles more and more every time I see him make a play because he drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I think DK Metcalf has already got more yards and touchdowns this season than J.J. has in his career. So, bummer. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the Russell Wilson. He should have won an MVP, but I think it's also not like bad luck, but I think 1 year he should have won. It was like Peyton Manning's crazy passing year. 1 year, like Drew Brees went off. 1 year, Aaron Rodgers went off. Then recently, like Lamar Jackson went off. Pat Mahomes went off. So, he definitely is always there, and I agree with you. He's going to win one this year. But, I mean, Aaron Rodgers looks just as good. But Russell Wilson will win one soon. I mean, you said it, most valuable player. If you take him off the Seahawks, I don't know who their backup is, but,
Geno Smith.
Okay, that's a 4-12 team right there.
Yep.
But that closes out for Sunday. Now, Joe, I'm 13-2. You're 12-3. It comes down to the Monday night game, the Saints and the Raiders. Joe, you had the Raiders. I had the Saints. We both went 13-3 on the week. So kudos to us. Congratulations to us. 13-3 is nothing to joke about. But the Raiders, I guess, shocked the Saints. I mean, what are your thoughts? They went 34-24. They were down 17-0, came back to tie it at half, and then the second half was all Raiders. I mean, it was just unbelievable to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of concerned about that Saints offense going into it just to see how much they'd be able to move the ball consistently. And, I mean, without Michael Thomas, I think we saw, Emmanuel Sanders had a couple drops. He didn't stand out in any way. He's not a number one wide receiver. Traquan Smith, he made some plays. I would say is at best, a number two, probably ideally a number three wide receiver. He made some plays, but, it just wasn't enough. I mean, they couldn't consistently move the ball or stretch the field. They didn't have a lot of big plays outside of Alvin Kamara, who went off, helped me win a fantasy game this week, needed all 38 of those points. Let's go. So, it's tough. I mean, I was saying that, the Raiders have a very good ball control offense. They can run the ball successfully and just work a lot of clock. They have a good enough defense. And how about Darren Waller, man? He's been going off. I love to see it, man. What a great story. And, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Saints, but I think they're going to struggle on offense consistently without someone like Michael Thomas in that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens drafted Darren Waller in the 6th round as a wide receiver from Georgia Tech. I mean, a big 6'5" physical guy. And they mentioned it in the broadcast. He was having some, off the field troubles, but he got clean, he got sober. He kind of worked on his act. He got healthy too. I mean, he was always, lighting it up in the preseason for the Ravens, and then just injuries and, people ahead of him. So very happy for Darren Waller. And you nailed it with the Saints. I mean, Drew Brees only had 33 of his passing yards in the air. I mean, everything else was Alvin Kamara after the catch, Traquan Smith after the catch. So, I mean, without Michael Thomas, they didn't take any shots downfield, which is what Drew Brees and the Saints need to do. That way they can open up Kamara doing a little screen, or Kamara going over the middle, or tight end. But they did have a lot of drops. Emmanuel Sanders had some drops. His first catch was on the final drive with like 10 seconds to go. So the Saints do need to pick it up. But the story of this game was the Las Vegas Raiders in their first game of their home stadium. They put up a lot of points. Derek Carr looked good. Darren Waller, obviously. Brian Edwards had a couple of big catches. Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs was running the ball, even though he was kind of on and off. But Jalen Richard had a great touchdown as well. The defense showed up too. I mean, they gave up 30 points to the Panthers in week 1. They knew even without Michael Thomas, it was still Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Jared Cook, Taysom Hill. Who knows how they were going to use them. So big shout out to the Las Vegas Raiders defense for coming up big and only holding Drew Brees in that offense to 24 points. That's more than enough for an offense like Derek Carr, Josh Jacobs to make that. And Raiders win, and they are 2-0. So kudos to John Gruden. Hopefully they can compete with the Chiefs all season long. But that does it for the week 2 recap. Joe, any other thoughts from week 2?
I mean, I think you said it earlier. These first couple weeks are kind of like a pseudo preseason. It's interesting. Doug Peterson, some of his comments on why the offense was struggling were, we didn't have, the full off season. We didn't have the preseason. So we're still working out the kinks. I'm just here, like, I'm seeing the Ravens, I'm seeing the Chiefs, I'm seeing a lot of people still come out the gates and be successful. So I don't think that's it. We'll see what happens, this week with, all the teams that are struggling, if that's going to continue to be an excuse, or if these teams are really just not good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And then hopefully, like we mentioned last week, we were like, hopefully everybody's still a little bit healthier. I think we might have cursed the NFL. But, let's have a good week 3 of no injuries. And speaking of week 3, we have a game to pick, Joe. We got the Thursday night football game. We got the Miami Dolphins heading up north to Duval. We're going to Jacksonville, Florida. We got the Dolphins at the Jaguars. Right now, the Jaguars are a 3-point favorite. The over-under is set at 48. Joe, what do you think of this game? Short rest for both teams, but Gardner Minshew, Fitzmagic, a stingy Dolphins defense. What do you like from this game, and who are you picking to win?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a lot more exciting and a close game than people expect. I mean, we said before the season, Miami is one that we both thought was on the rise. We both didn't think Jacksonville was. They were on the decline, but they've really just come out here and shocked the world. I mean, going into playing Indianapolis week 1, a playoff contender, year in, year out, and, shocking the world right there. And then going to Tennessee, playing them, and that's the team that won the division they were the wild card last year. They were the wild card, yeah. And made it to the AFC Championship. A very good football team, and they were right there, the whole game. So I mean, right now, from what I've seen the Jaguars go in and beat a good team in the Colts, and go in and lose a very close game where they played very well against the Tennessee Titans. Whereas I've seen the Dolphins go in and lose 2 games back to back. They were close games. I mean, the first one was against New England. So, maybe we give them, a little bit of slack there. It was a close game. They fought for it. And I mean, kind of the same thing with Buffalo, close game. That's still one of the top teams in your division. But right now, I got to go with Jacksonville. I mean, they come in and they beat one team in their division, and they play another team in their division really well. They look like they're a competitive team and looking to contend this year, at least in their mind. While Miami, I mean, they're 0-2, and 0-2 against 2 of their division opponents. I mean, it's tough because I think Miami's close, and I had a little bit higher expectations for them this year. I was hoping that they could kind of come through in those close games and win them. But right now, Jacksonville just seems to be the team with, they're hot right now. They've got a little bit more of an edge, a little bit more confidence. Gardner Minshew's just on fire. He's not making mistakes. I'm not going to pick against him. I'm not going to pick against him or that mustache.
Yeah, this game I'm so indifferent on. I mean, I really do like the Dolphins and think that they could easily win this game, going with Fitzmagic and the beard, almost beating the Bills at home. And, on the flip side, like I thought the Jaguars are going to go 1-15. They're 2-0. So I think because of that, I want them to
They're
just
1-1.
1-1, close enough. That's basically 2-0. No, the Jaguars are 2-0. They beat the Colts.
Yeah,
Oh, they
beat
lost
the Colts
to the
and then
Titans.
they lost
Yeah.
to the Titans. Yeah.
Okay, so that's still alive. I'm going with the Dolphins because I picked the Jaguars to go 1-15. That's still alive. We're going with Fitzmagic. Your team mustache. I'm team beard. Obviously, if you can tell by our own facial hair. I'm riding the Dolphins. I want to bet the over in this game, but it's a Thursday night game. I'm indifferent. I might bet it. I might not, but I would pick the over if I was a betting man. Well, I guess I am one, but I don't know if I will personally be betting on it. But that wraps it up for our Week 2 recap and Thursday Night Football preview. Joe, any final thoughts?
Man, that's it for me, Timmy B. It was a fun week of football, although it's just been rough here as an Eagles fan. So, thankfully I got a wonderful fiance right here with me who just hangs with me throughout all the hard days as an Eagles fan. Puts up with me and just keeps supporting me. So she's a true fan. She's a Gamecocks fan, so she knows pain. And, she's jumped on the Eagles with me. So she jumped on the year we won the Super Bowl. That's when we met.
It's all been
actually.
Downhill from that. It's
all been downhill from there. Now we're engaged and we're 0-2. What do you know? So, hopefully that's not, a long-term thing, right?
Well, love that, Joe. And that's all I have to say. I mean, I think that ends the episode well. Make sure that you like this video. It's that little thumbs up button right there. Then click on that subscribe button. And then, comment your thoughts from the episode. Like, are we idiots? Do you hate us? Are we good looking? Yes. I mean, but, comment whatever you want. I mean, we're all for it. And then stay tuned for Saturday. We'll pick the rest of week 3. We might have our first guest because somebody did subscribe, and comment their pick. So we might have our first guest Saturday morning. But until then, stay tuned and enjoy Thursday Night Football.